Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Art of MMA. Brand new episode in the books. Got a couple things to talk about today, but first let me introduce my co-host. I'm talking about the Savage, Sergio Da Silva. Sergio, what's up, buddy?
What's up, my man? Mike, how are you? Brandon, what's good, brother?
Doing good. And since Sergio already introduced him again, we're gonna talk to Sergio about this, but we're talking about the mechanic, Brandon Gattino. Brandon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, you know what it is. Another G-Men win, baby. It's a good day.
I need to start introducing Brandon first so we can get this out of the way so Sergio can get a full intro. All right, guys, a lot to talk about today, but we do have a couple really cool things as far as a selfish self-promotion goes. First and foremost, Art of MMA is now its own YouTube channel and its own website again. So a lot of people remember Art of MMA for years. Starting to unveil some of the archives. I'm rolling it out through Twitter and our Facebook channel. So if you'll notice today, Sergio just happened. It was completely random, but Sergio's article interview from back in the day popped up. Some other ones like Shedrick Goodridge and some other cool ones popped up in our timeline. We're just doing a way to show everybody what Art of MMA was, what it is, and what it's going to be. So really cool vault pay tribute to some of the great people we've interviewed over the years. We're going to keep doing the conversations on Thursday, keep doing the podcast on Tuesday. That said, go visit, go subscribe. The podcast and the conversations, like I said, is its own YouTube channel now. We're also going to introduce a couple cool news segments later. I've been talking to both Brandon and Sergio about doing some training segments for you guys. So that should be really cool, especially Sergio was talking about, the Alex Perez Deiveson fight and what he got caught in, what he should have done, how to get out of it. Well, we're going to go in depth and kind of show you guys that stuff coming up soon. So pay attention for that. And we might unveil a couple of new cool segments as well for our YouTube channel. And then, of course, the website, artofmma.com. You can find everything from all the old interviews to all the new podcasts and any articles we got coming out. So pay attention to all that. It's still brought to you by DCXIV. So pay attention to that as well. So you guys ready? Let's get to the show. Coming up first, we're going to do a new segment. It's called Rise and Grind. We're going to talk about an upcoming fighter who's not signed to UFC or Bellator or ONE FC or something like that. Somebody we think you should keep an eye out. His name today is Solomon Renfro. I'm going to kick it to you, Brandon, because you train with the guy over at Tiger Schulman. Tell me a little bit about Solomon.
Solomon, it's crazy. Solomon's came to the team last year. He's actually been with us for 2 fights. He's actually has his 3rd fight coming up later this month on the 19th for CFFC. I know he's really I guess he was born in Ohio, but from what I know is that he was living in Western New York.
He's built from Cleveland, Ohio.
He actually used to train with Patty Mix, who's in Bellator right now. So I mean he has some good partners. Like say when he first came and was training with us, he was hanging out with Lyman Good because they're both welterweights. So I mean, hey man, when you're training with Lyman, you're definitely getting some good work in.
Seems to be getting better every fight. He's 6-0 now. He's a welterweight, 5'9", 170 pounds. He just finished his last fight against Gidron with an anaconda choke in the first round. The funniest thing about that is actually before the fight, there was a lot of press conference, lining up face-to-face offs, and he was talking such mad shit. He's definitely an energetic guy.
One thing about Solomon, very, very confident guy, believes in himself, and hey man, as a fighter, you need to be like that. You need to be confident. You need to believe in yourself.
He's got that energy. Sergio, I know you watch a lot of CFFC.
Yeah.
Have you seen him fight yet?
I trained with him too when I was going up at Tigers with those guys. So when he first got there, I remember I rolled with him a couple of times. Very explosive kid. He was 2-0 at the time, I think. Oh no. Wait, you sure he only has 2 fights with you guys?
Yeah. Yeah,
wow. So I guess so that would make he probably was 4-0 at the time. I thought he had less fights than that, but I remember he was newly pro, relatively a new guy coming up. And that's what stood out to me.
He's only been fighting professionally for 3 years now.
Yeah, there you go. So he was very explosive. That's what stood out to me. I mean, he's at the right place. Those guys at Tiger always do a nice job, especially with developing young guys. They have him definitely on the right track, and he's good. He's talented, and he's he's coming into his own. So it's nice to see that.
So I ask you guys this: I've seen a couple of videos of his highlights and his I've seen a couple of his fights from CFFC, which you can find on CFFC's YouTube channel and obviously stuff like that. We did try to acquire footage, but we're not on that level yet. But but they did let us use some great photos for that. So I will say shout out to CFFC MMA. Make sure you guys give them a follow as well. What would you say his strength is? On the ground, standing.
I trained with him for a couple of times only. So I think the couple of times I was up there, we were just grappling, so I didn't get to see his striking. If I had to take a wild guess, if I'm not mistaken, he's a wrestler, maybe his background. So I think his wrestling and grappling is probably his strength. But being with the guys at Tiger, where I think they're very well rounded, but I think they excel a little bit more on the feet. I think his striking is really coming together.
Brandon, what do you think?
To be honest with you, I was gonna be like Sergio. I was gonna say really like I felt like
more of a wrestling background.
Yeah, like when he first came in, he was wrestling, but also too, I do know though he does have some boxing background too before he came with us as well. So I mean, he works on everything, man. Like he boxes well, like he goes out to boxing gyms, he boxes with people there, and he comes here and and he does his wrestling, he does his jiu-jitsu. Like you saw the last fight, he won with the submission. I think in his earlier pro fights he had a couple of TKOs, a couple of knockouts there.
I'll tell you what though, something that stood out for me. You know what, that Brandon brought up. He is very confident because I remember the first time we rolled, and Shane Burgos was the one that said, "Yo, you should go with Serge. You should roll with Serge." So I think he was new up at Tiger, so he came, and we were rolling, we were going, it was having a good time, and he actually tried to leg lock me. I don't mean to laugh, but just he tried to leg lock me. So I was like, "All right, we want to play this. I can leg lock." And I remember, I think I leg locked him, and I was able to eventually get him. And I told him, and I remember one advice that I gave him. I said, "Look." And it's funny. The irony is that exactly what I speak about on this show, and we spoke about it a couple weeks back, is like, why would you play in my game? I remember he was doing a really good job being top heavy and passing my guard, and he sat back and tried to leg lock me. And I said, shit, if you're going to get off all that top pressure and give me a leg lock opportunity, let's do it. Let's go leg lock for leg lock all day.
Especially being a bigger guy.
And I remember telling him that. I'm like, don't ever do that. I vividly remember saying, don't ever leave a top dominant position to fall back and do a leg lock, especially on a guy who, has, maybe he didn't know at the time, but has a little bit more of an extensive grappling.
Yeah. So Solomon's fighting Mike Mallet, December 18th, CFFC 91. Make sure you guys pay attention. Up next, we're going to be talking about a little bit of news, kind of all in one. So the big news came out this week. Yoel Romero cut from the UFC. He's 43, almost 44 years old. But, he's kind of one of those ageless wonders. Turns out, not just Yoel. Before the first fight of 2021, Dana came out and said they're making a lot of tough decisions. Might be up to 60 guys. Sergio, what are your thoughts on all that?
I think with the COVID and having fights every week, saturated the market. And you know what? It's something I've always go back and forth and say, everybody's so good. You take a card, like only because we're talking about a CFFC, and you look at it, you have guys who can win on any given night in the UFC. You take a guy like Bill Algeo, who I know personally, who used to fight for CFFC, took a short notice fight against a legend, Ricardo Lamas, former title challenger, and gave him fight of the night and almost won. And then he came in the next card the last card that just happened and dominated a guy that was on the UFC already and had a UFC fight before. So the UFC knows that, you know what, we don't need to keep using guys who just have a name. We can build a name off of younger guys who are coming from these regional shows or who have less of an extensive background, but it's going to save us a lot of money. And I think that's what it's coming down to.
Brandon, what's next for Yoel?
I mean, me personally, like I said, I think Yoel could maybe go to the PFL. Like I really think the PFL is going to be a major player in trying to get him. Like I know everybody thinks Bellator, but everybody always thinks Bellator is going to pick up these people. But I think Bellator has learned that they don't have to get UFC names like that anymore. Like they have their own guys that are growing up, that are coming up in their system.
I think what Bellator has done really well is they've used those names to elevate their talent. Like you look at like Benson Henderson, who just lost to Jason Jackson. Like a lot of those guys, Rory McDonald came over and he's lost a couple fights. The exception, obviously, Musasi's come over and been successful. There's obviously Machida's been pretty successful since he's come over. But actually, funny enough, and I think Sergio might even agree with this one, is I think the dark horse to sign Yoel might be Ryzen. Because Risen's also talking about bringing in Anderson.
What Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, Risen could do that. You know what I'm saying. They want to, because like say, like Japan used to be basically like the Mecca. So they might try to bring some names in, but then yeah, I mean, you think of Risen, but hey man, maybe one might try to get him too. Since to me one shells out money for anybody and everybody.
The only reason I wouldn't say one is because I think one is trying to be real stingy with bringing over Americans right now because they don't want to deal with don't say the word because Google won't let us advertise, but that thing going around the world right now, they don't want to deal with that.
C19, that's what we're gonna call it.
So they probably got an algorithm for that too, but C19, they don't want to deal with, like, Demetrius Johnson just finally got a fight after what, like almost a year and a half.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think they're trying to use guys who are already out there.
Yeah, they're trying to stay in Asia.
Yeah, they're not going to bring in a lot of guys. I don't know if Ryzen is a spot. I think it's a no-brainer, Bellator, man, because they have that division where they have Mousasi, who's been pretty dominant. They have that new Russian kid. They have Bader, that Russian kid I'm talking about is the one, I forgot his name, but he beat Bader at light heavyweight. Mm-hmm. They have him. So I've been reading that Yoel wants to fight at light heavyweight actually. So now you have Corey Anderson that just came over. So now you have Corey Anderson, Ryan Bader, Phil Davis, Mousasi. Look at how many fights to make. Those are all intriguing fights, man. Those are like UFC caliber fights. I think that's a no-brainer. I think he's gonna go to Bellator. Like, it's not even. I don't think that's even a competitive, because PFL doesn't have. Who are you gonna fight Yoel at PFL? I
think that's the thing. I think the thing is they're trying to grow their divisions. They're trying to bring people in. I'm about to say, isn't David Branch a free agent? I mean, I don't know, man. Or
I think he's still suspended.
Yeah, he's suspended.
Okay,
I don't think he's a free agent. Sure. But I will say this: I think, and I'm gonna steal Sergio's line. I hate to disagree with you, but I've heard more rumors of PFL going out of business than bringing in business. And even though they signed Carissa Shields, I feel like, and by the way, we were talking last week about Kayla taking another fight, December 17th for Titan. She's scheduled to take on a new fight. Yeah. But I feel like PFL is focusing on younger fighters. But then also B, I don't think they have the security of running events in 2021 that they think they do, because they've already completely wiped out all of 2020 schedule. And a lot of fighters aren't going to keep waiting. Like, unless you're somebody like Carissa Shields coming over, who
waiting is better for her.
Yeah, it's brand new. She's training with Jackson Wink. I've seen her training with, John Jones and Holly Holm. She's out there trying to get real MMA training in. So for her, it's perfect, because she's still going to box all year long too. But for somebody like, and you see they're letting Kayla go out and fight. You talk about Glory, which you're very familiar with, Brandon. They let Alex Pereira go out and fight because they weren't running a certain amount of events, and luckily they're now coming back with an event. This time and age, like, more people, like, the UFC is not the only one getting ready to cut talent. And even Bellator said when Anderson Silva was a free agent, or is a free agent now, that they weren't interested in bringing him in because they're more interested in focusing on some of the younger fighters. But to me, that's code word for we're more focused on less expensive fighters.
Yep.
These companies right now are trying to cut. Even, like, we talk about wrestling a lot. WWE is getting ready to cut a shit ton of people. So right now, the end of the year budget.
I forgot one more, and they have Machida too at Bellator. I mean, Bellator, it's a no-brainer. That division is meant for Yoel to go over to.
It would be a good fit, but I see him going to Japan. I see him and Anderson Silva going to Ryzen. I don't know if they would match up, but I do see them going there.
Oh man, we'll have to see what happens, I guess.
All right, let's transition. We're going to talk about a couple of really cool up-and-coming fighters, a couple of people that made their name at the last UFC card with Vettori and Hermanson. One of those people, I don't know what to make of him yet, because every time I've seen Jordan Leavitt fight, he's been incredible. Obviously, the tremendous slam against Wyman was perfect. He had his arm placed perfectly, so when he slammed him in, Wyman went to sleep. Actually, almost a scary situation, because it took Wyman a minute to come to. He had a really cool and fast arm triangle choke with Luke Flores, anaconda choke against Le'Veon Lewis in LFA. Every time I've seen any kind of highlight of this kid, and most of them have been submission work. So for him to get the slam is actually something new. He's been impressive. Even going back to fighting Johnny Walker in Gladiator Challenge, he beat him with a heel hook. The guy is now 7-0. Sergio, you're the grappler. What do you think of this kid from what you've seen so far?
I think he's really good. I would like to have seen more in that fight. Unfortunately, it finished fast. I mean, fortunately for him, got it the W fast. He's a great grappler. He seems to be very poised, like the UFC reporter said in between fights. But there's nothing. I haven't really. I'm gonna take the approach that I had with the other guy, Chemiaski.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you pronounce his name. Where he's really good.
I'm not good with names. I'm not going
where he's really good, but he's been finishing people so fast. So yeah, he looks good, but like, have we really seen him having to work? Yeah, he went in there, got a quick slam, but what did you see really?
I mean, he's another one. Like we were talking about Solomon earlier. He's another one of those guys. Only been fighting for a couple years. He's only 25 years old. He's already in the UFC. I just, same thing. Another guy we're going to talk about later with Hill. It's just these young guys coming in and making a name for himself pretty quickly, especially with these highlights. Buckley made that name for himself with a highlight, even though Buckley's been fighting for quite a while now. These highlights make all the all the news channels, Sports Center, and everything.
But I have a different opinion about Buckley, just to touch it real quick. I've watched him fight extensively versus Kevin Holland. I watched him for 3 rounds. He is really good. It wasn't just a highlight kick.
Like, he was really good in Bellator.
Yeah. So, we've seen him. So, I mean, I'm not the highlight kick did, boost his stock and did get him a lot, raise his stock and looks better. But we've seen a lot of him. But a guy like Jordan, who just fought, and a guy like Chemieski and, guys like that, where you don't really get to see them because they're finishing so fast. It's like you don't know what to expect.
And 8-0 now for Jordan Leavitt. Brandon, what do you think of him?
And I'm kind of really on the same boat as Sergio. I mean, hey, he looks good in every fight that we've seen, but I mean, I guess with him, like, I kind of want to go with like what we were talking about earlier with Solomon. Like, he's just another confident guy. Like, he even said it in this post-fight interview where he's ready to fight anybody and everybody. And the reason being is because of where he trains at, who he trains with, his training partners get him ready. So he's ready to fight anybody. So, I mean, again, that's just another confident person, who just believes in himself, believes in his team, and just thinks that he's just ready for everybody. So, I mean, hey, Matt Wyman, a veteran, has tons of fights, saying he only had 7 fights and he went in there and did his thing against them. And so, I mean, you're only going to go up from there, Yeah,
he was heavily favored going into the Matt Wyman fight too. So even Vegas had a strong feeling about this kid. Going into the same thing, another fighter that kind of, all 3 of us actually picked OSP, but I'm not sure if we just didn't pick him because.
Did I pick OSP?
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, you were wrong for once. Sorry. And real quick about Jordan Leavitt, real quick. Shout out to Dana White's Contender Series, because we saw Alex Perez in the main event. Jordan Leavitt's another kid coming up. Kind of like the Ultimate Fighter. It's another thing that Dana's kind of hit jackpot with, giving some of these up-and-coming fighters a chance to shine.
And also, which I brought up before, Bill Algeo lost on the Contender Series, got an opportunity, took a short notice fight. So, like, even guys who lost in the Contender Series, goes to show you they're right there too.
Yeah, and wrapping back to the 60 people getting cut, Dana White signed like 36 people or something this year from the Contender Series. So he's got a lot of fresh blood coming in.
Yeah, but it goes back to the business aspect of it too, right? They're paying these guys like.
Well, I was gonna say, I remember there was one person I think who got a contract, didn't fight for the UFC yet, and then somehow he got cut. I can't remember his name though.
I think it was he got popped for something with Uzada. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think he
got suspended. That's what happened. So that's why they cut him. But you take a guy like Romero, you cut him, you're able to pay salary for the next fight for all 36 guys combined. Yep. I get that's how crazy is that, Greg? Because I think don't quote me on this exactly, but I think the starting salary for the most part, I think is 12.
Yeah, 12 and 12.
12 and 12. Maybe it changed. I don't know. But, you do 12, just simple math, 36 guys. You pay one person for Yoel. So if you just think about the business, you cut Yoel, you're able to pay all 36 guys.
Well, yeah, speaking of Contender Series, moving on now, officially moving on. Jamahal Hill, another guy. He fought Alexander Popik on the, he got those elbows from the top mount, crushed him out. Then he got Stasic in UFC ESPN Plus, UFC on ESPN Plus 24. He beat Stasic by decision. Honestly, I didn't really think about the name matching up with the face when we were talking about the guy last week going into our picks, because I do remember being very impressed with him both times I've seen him. And I never had a chance to see him on the independent scene. He also has a win over Daquan Townsend, who has some UFC experience as well. So he's fought some tougher people on the way up. He's a late starter. I think he only started professional MMA at 26. So as far as, most of the industry goes, he's kind of getting a late start. But he's already quickly on the rise. And after that knockout over OSP, I think right now he's poised to take at least a top 15 guy on. Maybe not, but definitely somebody with a name. Brandon, what do you think of him?
I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything really about him. I kind of really thought OSP was going to take it because if you look at their records, like this guy, I think this guy only had like 7 fights.
Mm-hmm. He's 8-0 now, 7-0 coming in.
Yeah, exactly. So he only had 7 fights, and then OSP had over 50 fights. I'm just thinking of stuff like, oh man, they may be just trying to have OSP bounce back. This is a showcase fight for him. But nah, man, Hill, man, he had other things on his mind, and he was like, no, this is gonna be his showcase. Went out and he's put on OSP, stopped him, got the W. And I'm saying OSP is a name. OSP is, I think he's still top, at least I think top 10 at 205. So I think
he's still in the top 10, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you go from there. That means you probably got to get somebody else who's in the top 10 because I'm most likely sure that guy will probably have a number next to his name. So I mean, saying, hey man, he looked good. Did his thing. Congrats to him. Let's see who he gets next.
Sergio, if we're being fair, do you think the fact that OSP came in overweight had anything to do with OSP's performance in that fight?
I mean, maybe he had a tough weight cut. Either that or just he's getting older. I think the age gap is what really stood out to me. I think OSP is 37 and Hill was 29. 29. I think that's your peak, right? Your late 20s, early 30s. And I think later in your 30s, you're kind of declining. I think just, Hill's movement and explosiveness was just one step ahead of OSP. I think OSP's couldn't really find his, he wanted to keep the fight on the outside, do some big leg kicks. I think the explosiveness, I think a younger OSP versus him, I think OSP gets the win, but I think the age definitely played a factor.
As far as rankings, Jamahal Hill is now 15 in the light heavyweight division, which I'm thinking maybe he took OSP's place. But also OSP jumped between divisions for his last fight. So I'm not sure if the rankings kept up with him. So he might have actually slipped off. Because actually I don't notice any more differences in the top 10.
Yeah.
But
I was kind of a little interested in that fight. Was like, man, OSP didn't really take him down. We all know, man, he has that Von Flue choke. It's like, why not take him down and try to try to get a submission? He just stood with him.
He looked kind of lethargic. Honestly, OSP was landing early. He was landing his combos, he was landing his striking, but Hill just kept coming forward. The striking really wasn't even bothering him. Now, like I said, OSP has put people to sleep in the UFC, so any one of those punches could have ended the night. But at the same time, Hill just didn't look like he was bothered by any of them. And, the whole theme of this show has almost been some of these fighters are just so confident. And Hill just has the world of confidence in him right now. And maybe he should be. I mean, he's 8-0. He's never tasted defeat in professional MMA. So it'd be interesting to see who they match him up against next. I mean, if he's staying in that light heavyweight division, I personally would probably like to see him fight another kind of vet, maybe like Ryan Spawn, or maybe he could fight. We've talked about Johnny Walker kind of needing a fight lately.
That's a big step for competition for him, man.
But Johnny Walker's looked good and he's looked bad.
Yeah, but I think Johnny has I don't think they do that fight, man. I think,
or if you want, maybe even Paul Craig, who just came off that, he just fought recently against Shogun, so they're kind of
you give a guy like Paul Craig, maybe.
Jim Crute's another guy. So
I'd like to see him fight maybe Ed Herman, maybe, who won his last fight, which he shouldn't have,
Yeah.
That was a little bit controversial. You know, that fight was actually, didn't he tap out or something like that, and they didn't even catch it?
They stopped the fight because the ref stopped it because he got hit with a
knee to the belly.
A knee to the stomach.
Oh yeah, because they thought it was a low blow, and they
had replays available, so all they had to do was literally go and check the replay. Mike Rodriguez wins.
Well, we know how replay works. We've seen that with boxing lately. It's not exactly an exact science.
Yeah. But at least go and review it and then mess up, at least, right? At least say you tried. But damn, to have it and not even use it, what's the point?
So the main event of UFC, we're going to transition to talking about Marvin Vettori, the Italian Dream. The main event of UFC was kind of changed up last second. Kevin Holland had the COVID test. Oh, shit, I said it. There goes our advertising. Kevin Holland, I might have to edit that one. Kevin Holland he tested positive, so he got pushed back a couple of weeks later. Hermanson didn't want to wait. They offered him Vettori. He took the fight. Ended up being one of the fights of the year. I mean, they just sat there and slugged it out back and forth. And props to Sergio. Both me and Brandon thought Hermanson's experience probably would take that fight. But Vettori came out from the start. He almost finished Hermanson in the first round. And then from that, he just kept the pressure on. And don't get it wrong, Hermanson definitely had his moments in that fight where striking-wise, he got the best of Vettori a couple times. But I don't think Vettori was ever in danger of being stopped. And I think just his output throughout the entire 5 rounds, he just kept going. Brandon, what did you think of that fight, and what do you think is next for Vettori?
And like you said, me and you, we picked the wrong person. Sergio, props to him. He picked Vettori. Like I said, I thought Hermanson was going to take it. You know, he
don't
was
be pumping Sergio's head up any more than it already is.
Yeah.
He knows he makes good picks. Just let him sit there.
Yo, it's crazy, bro. I want to have a record locator, bro, because I've been doing pretty good this year, man.
Yeah.
Save that for Fight Cave.
But back to the fight, like Hermanson, like to me, I just thought, man, he wanted to stay striking. And I know that, you know, he wanted to test out his striking and everything like that. But to me, man, dude, once you got dropped, you should be like, all right, man, it's time for me to take this fight to the ground. But the thing is, though, during the fight, though, he kept on getting those single legs, but he wasn't able to finish. So I mean, I got to give credit to Vettori for his wrestling defense on the single leg. But also, too, man, Vettori, man, he changed up gyms because now where's he training at? King's MMA.
Rafael Cordero.
Yeah, another good coach, you know, is somebody who is good with striking, you know, as well. So, I mean, Vettori striking, but it was definitely different than all his other fights. So, I mean, props to him. I mean, let's see. Hermanson was what? I want to say top 5. So, I mean, to me, he's in there now. He's in there. I mean, for all I know, he could really have a case to say, yo, Adesanya, I got next.
And yeah. And Sergio, you know, his last loss was a split decision loss to the now champion.
I think he did a horrible job on his call out. I think the fight before when he beat a guy, I forgot who he beat, but I don't think
Robertson.
Yeah, who wasn't ranked. He asked for Adesanya after that fight, if you guys remember. He said they asked him, "Who do you think you should fight next?" He's like, "I think I should fight the champion." And now this fight, he wins. He beats the guy who's the top 5, and then he calls for Costa. They make no sense to me. I think right there was his opportunity to say, look,
I feel like he took Costa because he thought that led to Adesanya.
Yeah, of course that leads. If you beat Costa, it has to be. But why not call Adesanya? If you call Adesanya before, why don't you call Adesanya now? Stick to it.
That could be a coaching thing.
I think he wants the Costa fight first because I think that's the easier fight for him. Obviously, it is the easier fight. I mean, let's be honest here. No fight is easy, but if you're going to pick an easier fight, Costa is easier than Adesanya. And I think that he looked really good. The reason why I picked him was because I thought that he's a guy where I wouldn't say is a specialist, is a jack of all trades. He's not a specialist really anywhere. I wouldn't say he's an amazing grappler. I wouldn't say he's an amazing striker.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about last week is actually, I threw out there the fact that he has quite a few submissions.
He's very well-rounded.
We were like, who's the better on the ground, him or Hermanson? And then the fight never went there.
Yeah, but I think Hermanson is a better grappler, a pure grappler. But I think why I gave Vettori the edge, I think he was better everywhere else. And I think that Hermanson's only chance was in the grappling. I knew he was going to get beat up on the feet, which he did. And I think Vettori is in line, man. He could challenge Adesanya right now. He's the only guy where I can say with confidence, I think he should be fighting for the title next.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon, we just talked about his switch to, you know, Rafael Cordero and King's MMA. And you're the striker on the show. Like, how much better has his striking looked over the last couple fights versus, you know, previous few fights before that.
I mean, I want to say, man, with this fight, I want to say, like, especially this one, like, to me, because this is where, like, I was really, really paying attention to it. Like, he was a completely different fighter. Like, I mean, even from his fight when he fought Adesanya, different, from here. I mean, he had good combinations, which is really, like, that's really one of the main things. Like, with a lot of, like, MMA striking, like, people only throw like one shot. You need combination. You need combination. Like, when you really watch the good strikers in MMA, they have combinations. They throw combinations. They switch it up. They change it up. And that's what he was doing. He had the good body kick as well. So I mean, he was tearing up his leg too. I mean, he had it all. He had it all going.
Sergio, do you think who do you think has improved more between the last fight and now? So the last fight was 2.5 almost 2.5 years ago with Adesanya. Has Adesanya improved more, or has Vettori? Who's gotten better?
Well, here's the thing. I think
they've both gotten better.
Yeah, I think Adesanya got better, because I think Adesanya's biggest difficulty in that fight was that he got taken down and he couldn't do much. I think Adesanya's takedown defense got a lot better, where Vettori striking maybe improved a little bit, but I don't think it improved at the level where he's going to be able to beat Adesanya on the feet. And I think for him to beat Adesanya, he's going to have the same game plan, which he's going to have to take him down. But I think Adesanya got a lot better with the takedown defense.
That's what I think now. I think right now, if he fought like he fought against Hermanson, I don't think Vettori beats Adesanya, because one of the things that gave, like you said, gave Adesanya trouble was that he mixed it up.
Yes.
He was standing, he was grappling, he was standing, he was grappling, he was mixing it up the whole time.
Correct.
To the point where you weren't sure if Adesanya won that fight because of the top control that Vettori had for a while.
Correct.
And it was a matter of the judges saying, all right, was the effective strikes of Adesanya better? Because I went back and actually watched that fight a couple of days ago. Was the strikes of Adesanya better versus Vettori controlling? Because Vettori didn't do much on top,
but he kept them down.
But he kept the control. So that was really where, how the judging went with that fight. And you got to think, if the judging went the other way in that fight, the trajectory of those two fighters is completely different right now. We're talking about Adesanya still waiting to get next, kind of like Ngannou.
Yeah.
Because Ngannou had that terrible performance against Stipe, and he's still waiting. That could also be another subject today to talk about, but we'll save that for next week, because the Blades and Lewis fight, which was supposed to headline this card, got postponed. The heavyweight division right now is just completely on standby. We got Vellante, who went up in weight trying to fight. And by the way, please, Jean Vellante, go back down to 205, because he looked horrible as a heavyweight. And you're talking about a guy who he's been fighting for quite a while and has quite a resume, almost like a 500 record. He's won some, he's lost some, but he looks a lot better at 205 than he does over in the heavyweight division. So that brings us to our picks, moving right along today. Welcome back, Bellator. Bellator took about a month off. They were going toe-to-toe with UFC every week for a while. Their event takes place December 10th, this Thursday. They're going to be back at Mohegan Sun Arena, headlined by the women's flyweight title fight. You got Macfarlane going against Velasquez. Sergio, I'm going to go ahead and start off with you. Who do you think takes that fight and why?
That's going to be a close fight, man. I think a lot of people don't speak about this division in Bellator. I think
both are undefeated, by the way.
Yeah, I think Macfarlane's been really dominant for quite some time, and people, I don't know why she does. I mean, probably because of the Bellator division, her weight class isn't as deep as the UFC, so people don't speak about her. But I think this is going to be a fight where she's going to be able to staple her name. I think people are going to start talking about her more. I think she's going to win this actually relatively easily. I think she is that good. I think people haven't showed her enough, gave her enough credit.
Brandon?
You know what it is, and still Macfarlane, she's taking it. I think what
King of the Ladies fight says Macfarlane's taking it.
I really want
Sergio, get him in trouble again.
I want to say I want to say she's kind of in the same boat as Shevchenko, where it's just like she's just dominant in her division. Like they really don't have anybody for her. Like that's one of the reasons why people were excited that Liz Carmouche came over to Bellator. But the thing is, though, they're both training partners. But I know though that they did say they would fight each other for the belt. So we'll see if that happens after this fight. But I just think, man, I just think Macfarlane is just on another level right now with these ladies. And I mean, she's been looking good. She's been improving. Her striking's been really doing well. Her ground game is definitely gone up as well. She's doing it for Hawaii. She represents her culture, her state. So I just say, and still Macfarlane.
The way I look at it, Macfarlane's younger by a few years. Has fought tougher opponents like Kate Jackson and Emily Ducate. Looking at Juliana Velasquez's record, she hasn't lost, but I mean, other than I recognize Christina Williams. I did see the Bronna Ellen fight back last year. She hasn't fought in a year either. I just find it hard to see Macfarlane losing this fight. I think she's more well-rounded, and I think at the end of the day, she's going to keep her title. The other card we're looking at right now, this Saturday, back in the cage again, UFC 256. We're talking about Deiveson Figueiredo fighting Mexico's Brandon Moreno, trying to be the first ever Mexican-born champion. Of course, Kane always represented Mexico, but there's never been a Mexican-born champion. We talked about this fight kind of in length last week when we were talking about Deiveson, but Brandon, I'll start with you. Who do you got in this fight?
Yo, I'm switching it up. I'm going.
No,
I'm
don't
going
do it.
with and new.
Oh my God.
Yo, it's crazy. You picked Brandon first. I wanted to be the one to break it. I'm with you, Brandon.
Nah, man. I'm just riding with Moreno, man. Been doing his thing. Like I said, man, I just think on Saturday, my dude's like saying he's representing Mexico, and he's gonna be a Mexican that night. Not a Mexican, he's gonna be a Mexican that night.
Go ahead, Sergio. Tag team on that one.
Yo, listen, I was hoping you would pick me first, just in case somebody else does. So I don't want people thinking I'm copying Brandon. But listen to this. I rarely go against my fellow Brazilians. I really like Moreno here. Every time I've picked against him, I spoke about this in the past, he's shut me up. He's been a heavy underdog multiple times. I'll tell you what I don't like about the Figueiredo turnaround. I think because he's been winning his fights so fast, he hasn't really been in deep waters. I think this is going to be a fight that's going to go the distance, and I think it's going to shock Figueiredo. Figueiredo's last tough fight, other than the one he lost, he beat, what's his name? He's not in the UFC anymore. Just Jared Scoggins? Jared Brooks. He beat him by split decision in Brazil, which I thought Brooks actually won that fight. Go back and rewatch it. Split decision. It went the distance. I think Figueiredo gasses out. I think he's throwing explosive the whole time. I haven't seen Moreno take a deep breath his entire career. He's going balls to wall. I've seen Figueiredo gas more than once. I know he cuts a lot of weight. I think Moreno never had a weight issue. I think Figueiredo cutting weight, making weight, cutting weight, making weight, cutting weight, making weight more times than Moreno has been in a short amount of time is going to affect Figueiredo more. I think we're going to see his cardio zap. I think if he doesn't get Moreno out in the first round, I think it's going to go to deep waters. I think Moreno's going to win.
Well, this fight, they're kind of in the same boat because they were on the same card, same turnaround.
But Moreno's never had an issue making weight. Figueiredo has.
That's true, and especially that's the reason why he didn't win the title of Fight First earlier against Benavidez. Yeah. But I would, you know what? I'm gonna steal this line again. I hate to disagree with both of you, but no, actually, I like disagreeing with both of you. It makes the show fun. One of my friends who watches this show regularly said it actually, especially with me and Sergio, evidently, I guess because we go toe to toe more than like Brandon, I guess is the calming influence as he puts it. But me and Sergio tend to be more combative. It makes the show more fun and entertaining. So I think Deiveson Figueiredo is going to win this fight, and I don't even think it's going to go past 2 rounds. I think Moreno doesn't beat Royval if Royval doesn't dislocate his shoulder. I don't think Moreno has fought this level of competition. And I think Deiveson has been going through a killer's row the last few fights. And I think Alex Perez threw something different at him, and he still found a way to lock him in and put him out. Yeah, cardio could be an issue. I don't think it's going to go long enough to get to that issue.
If it doesn't go, If it doesn't go, I agree with you. I think it's going to go 2 ways: early Figueiredo or late Moreno. I think the fight
now
goes
you're
late.
Hedging your bets.
No. I think fight goes late. What I'm saying is I'm picking Moreno because I think this fight is going to go late. But if you told me, hey, the fight finished in the first or second round, I'm picking Figueiredo all day.
Because you also have to remember, Moreno's doing this. Yeah, Moreno's always made weight. But you have to remember, he's doing the same like blow up, cut weight in 2 weeks the same way.
Yeah, but Figueiredo did it. I think Benavidez twice. Perez now. I think he probably did it 4 times in the last year.
And the only thing I would also throw into the mix, I'm not going to disagree, I think it's just something different, is that Figueiredo, I don't think he's worried as much about the maintaining of weight because it is so close. I think the biggest problem is when you have these like quick turnarounds is that you don't do enough training. Like he hasn't trained for Moreno for more than a week probably. So for him to have to sit there and do, fly home or not even fly home, he probably stayed in the States. And he hasn't had his training for 2 weeks. He doesn't know what Moreno, other than what he sees on like video, like he watching film.
But here's the thing, to play the devil's advocate, okay? One major factor that you said, Figueiredo between these fights has to fly all the way back to Brazil every time. Do layovers, get COVID tests, turn around, fly back. Moreno's here. A lot easier for him. That's one.
Because he has his own team in Brazil. It's not like he's training with anybody in America.
2, another very important factor. Moreno knows who the champion is. So he's training with the objective of fighting for that one guy.
Yeah, you always picture that guy in your mind.
You always picture that guy. Figueiredo doesn't know. Am I fighting Royval? Am I fighting Perez? Am I fighting Formiga? Am I fighting, whoever it is that he can't really focus on one guy. So I think that gives Moreno an advantage. I think Moreno is going to shock a lot of people. I think he wins this fight. I'm very confident with this pick. I'm not even up in the air.
So here's one fight that the last fight we'll make picks for, and I feel like, and then we'll get to some questions, but I feel like this is the one fight we might actually disagree a little bit more. The co-main, Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira. Sergio, I'm going to let you go ahead and start with this one.
Oliveira all day long. I've been vouching for this kid. I think he's ready to fight for the title. I think he's going to beat Ferguson, and I think he's going to finish him as well. He's finished 7 last 7. He's 7 in a row, and he's finished all 7 guys. I think he doesn't get enough credit. I think he's a little too soft-spoken. I think his manager's not doing a nice job promoting him more. I think if it was anybody else, any one of those guys in the top 5, that he'd be fighting for the title. But he's going to beat Tony Ferguson, and he'll fight for the title. I got Oliveira in this fight. Also, very confident with this pick.
Brandon?
It's a tough one. I'm not gonna lie. I originally, when this fight first came out, I was like, oh, Tony Ferguson. But I gotta make the switch. I'm going with the Bronx. Reason being is, man, to me, Tony Ferguson, I feel like he's gotten away from what he was really good at, which is really, man, he was a wrestler. He had submissions. And then of course, everybody, they start striking and they just want to be strikers. Like they forget what they're good at. While Oliveira, he knows I'm going to tap you out, but he, and he's good on the ground, real good on the ground. And I think that's what I'm going to give him the edge on the ground if it does go to the ground, like how. Like I can see this fight being like how Tony Ferguson and what's my man's name? Lee was, for the interim belt, where you had your 2 wrestlers going, and the fight ended on the ground. That's how I think this fight could go. And I say
when he fought Kevin Lee.
Yeah, when he fought Kevin Lee, like I say, if that fight goes like that, I give the edge to Oliveira. If they stay on the ground, if this fight stays standing, then I would give it to Tony Ferguson, but I just think Oliveira. I think Oliveira is too smart. He knows where his bread and butter is, and he's going to take it there.
Oliveira's striking is not bad either, man. That's why I'm picking him, because I think he could win. He's better than Ferguson everywhere.
You're right. You're right. His striking has gotten better, but the thing is, though, Tony Ferguson has good striking, but also I think Tony Ferguson hits harder as well. So that's why I give Ferguson the edge in striking. Because because Tony Ferguson can box. Like he has combinations. He's not just the one person unless he's tired. Which is how it was when he fought. He started becoming just one shot. But in the beginning of the fight, he gives you combinations. His hands are flowing. But like I said, I just think Oliveira. I think Oliveira is just going to take this fight.
You see me just biding my time, right? Because once again, I'm gonna enjoy arguing with you guys on this one. Because of the same thing we talked about last fight, with the weight cut and the turnaround, we didn't see Tony Ferguson last fight. Yeah, Gaethje's that good, but we didn't see Tony Ferguson last fight because he did that stupid fake weight cut when the Khabib fight fell apart.
I don't know why anybody would do that.
but he's not a normal person.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look, and I'm not even throwing shade. I mean, we all know that Tony Ferguson has dealt with his fair share of mental of issues, and he's got his own personal demons, and that's between him and his self. That's definitely not throwing shade, but what he did was completely, as far as MMA concerned, is idiotic. Doing that weight cut, and then 2 weeks later turning around and fighting a top contender like Justin Gaethje. That wasn't Tony Ferguson. And he was still somewhat competitive for like the first round or two. And then you could just see the adrenaline dump. You could see 3 rounds of him just trying to be tough as nails and stick it out until the ref finally stopped it in the last round, or the 4th round or 5th round. But he stopped it late. Like,
he took a beating, though.
He took a beating, which also just shows how tough he is. Tony Ferguson has had now plenty of time to get his body right, to get his mind right. I mean, he hasn't fought since May. And it's not like he took over a year off, so he doesn't have ring rust, cage rust. He's fresh. We're going to see the real Tony Ferguson on Saturday night. And I do think Oliveira is that good. It's not a slight towards Oliveira. But I remember Tony Ferguson versus Cowboy. I remember him against Pettis. I remember him against Kevin Lee. Hell, I remember him against Dos Anjos 4 years ago. And that's a guy that you don't want to be in the cage with. That's the guy who was supposed to match up with Khabib like 4 or 5 times. That's the Tony Ferguson I think we see Saturday night, and that's the Tony Ferguson I think wins this fight, which is unfortunate because Oliveira's had such an impressive win streak. But I think that ends Saturday night with Tony Ferguson. So that's my pick. Those are our picks. Tell us if you disagree in the comments. We love hearing your feedback. We love being part of a community. So MMA, Twitter, and YouTube, please jump on the comments. Let us know. We're going to take a question. Unfortunately, we only got one question this week. It was kind of short notice. That was kind of my fault that I put the question out there late. But every week, please go ahead and send us questions. We'll take the questions throughout the week. And my guys, Sergio and Brandon, will be happy to answer anything you guys got coming in. This question from at Tune Up Crew Captain. Of course, Brandon's wife. She's our #1 fan, so we love her. If she's around, tell her we say hi. Her question this week is, and I'm going to start with you, Sergio. What is your favorite division to watch, and who's your favorite fighter in that division?
Oh, man, I'm biased, so I'm going to say the bantamweights for sure. That was the division I fought in for a long time. My favorite guy to watch is probably our future champ, my man Aljamain Sterling, who I had the pleasure of fighting early in my MMA career. I think he's super talented. I think people don't give him enough credit. I think that division is very exciting right now. It's a lot of top contenders. The guys in the top 10 could be fighting for the belt on any given card. He's really good. He's a really great, underrated grappler. I also got to compete with him in a grappling match. So I've got to train with a lot of really good guys, and I know skills when I see it. I think he's going to be the next champ.
Brandon?
And then I'm just like Sergio, man. I'm going to be biased too. Lightweight, those 155ers. That's where I fight at. Kickboxing wise and everything like that. I guess we were going to say my favorite person really to watch in that division is Cowboy, man. Donald Cerrone is saying when I first started really watching it, I was a fan of him from his WEC days. Saying the guy has amazing striking, good submissions. He can do it all. He's just exciting.
Yeah, I think I kind of piggyback on that. As I was sitting there listening to you guys' answers, I've kind of flipped between. So I go between lightweight to middleweight as far as like those 3 divisions to me have been like the most exciting to watch lately. I still feel like lightweight's probably my favorite, but also welterweight because my favorite fighter is Masvidal. Every time Masvidal gets in that cage, love him or hate him outside the cage, when you lock the cage behind him, it's going to be an exciting fight. He doesn't go in there trying to hold you or wrestle you. He goes in there trying to finish you, especially since the resurrection. So for a long time, Cowboy was my favorite fighter also. Shout out to Frankie Edgar. He's another one of my top guys. But Masvidal is must watch for me right now. So I'm gonna go with the welterweights, but I definitely can't sleep. But we just talked about the lightweights. There's so many exciting fights at lightweight. But I think welterweight right now, even though it's kind of a standstill, We just haven't seen Usman that active. We haven't seen Covington that active. Woodley kind of like has fell off. Thompson's fighting soon, but Edwards and Chimaev just got canceled, so or pushed back. You know, Leon Edwards just can't get right now. So since we didn't have any questions, I do want to give each of you your own question, something cool for the fans at home. Brandon, your question is actually related to Glory. So I see Glory's making a comeback. What are you excited about for that card? And what fighter should we look out for in the next year besides obviously Alex Pereira? Give us a name we haven't seen before.
Man, well, for that card actually that's coming up, probably really the fight that I'm looking forward to is it's the welterweight title fight, which is Cedric Doumbé versus Myrtle Grunhart. I mean, both those guys have bad blood. I think they fought twice, I think, beforehand. So I think this is their third time fighting. Mandus, and just somebody to look out for is Cedric Doumbé. Like that guy is just on another level. I've actually seen him fight in person. When I fought at Glory 55, he actually fought that night too. He too has been talking about maybe doing MMA as well. Like he's been training in MMA. The funny thing too about that guy is he has no head coach. It's just him and like a bunch of friends, and they just did serious. He has no head coach. But I mean, the dude is one of the best kickboxers in the world, and we'll see what happens if he decides to do MMA. But Cedric Doumbé, Myrtle Grunhart, that's the fight to look forward to. Which of course I'm sure everybody's really gonna be looking forward to the Badr Hari fight because everybody likes Badr. But just to let you know, if anybody's really watching that fight, I'm picking my boy Adik Bowie, baby. Benjamin Adik Bowie is gonna beat Badr Hari that night. But to answer your question, Cedric Doumbé is the guy to look out for.
What weight is Cedric in?
Welterweight, 170.
All right, Sergio, I'm gonna go back to your roots a little bit for your question. CFFC's been doing these back-to-back cards this week. They got another one, 90 and 91, coming up on Thursday and Friday. They have 3 title fights this week. The first one is Pat Sabatini versus Jesse Sturm at 145. At 115, we have the girls, Elise Reed and Julian De Corsi. And then the other title fight on the next night is 185, Colin Huckbuddy versus Anthony Adams. Out of those fights, what are you looking forward to most? And who's somebody that we haven't talked about that we should probably keep an eye on from CFFC?
Again, I'm going to be super biased. The first 2 that you talk, Jillian trained with me up at Long Island MMA for a long time. So I'm definitely excited for her fight. I'm excited to watch her become the next champion for them. You know, she trains over with Caitlin, blonde fighter at Long Island MMA. So she's really good. I've grappled with her for extensive periods of time, and keep an eye out for her. And my man Sabatini, I was supposed to fight him at an amateur maybe 10 years ago. He's super talented. I think I know Jesse Stern is probably, I think he's from the DC area, if I'm not mistaken. He has a win over a guy who was in the UFC, the Hulk, Mike Easton, I think that's his name.
Yeah, Mike Eastman. Yep.
Yep. I think Jesse's super tough, but I think Sabatini.
From suburban Maryland, but close.
Yeah, I think Sabatini is the guy, man. He's one of the guys that when we're doing the segment about guys to keep on, just like Salman, he's another guy that is going to be in the UFC sooner than later. He always gets right there, and then, you know, unfortunately gets a lot. I think he capitalizes this opportunity. He becomes a champ again. He'll be a 2-time CFFC champ. And the middleweights, I'm not familiar with either guy, so I can't comment on that.
Jesse's closer to Baltimore, but same region though.
Yeah.
Definitely some cards to look out for. Shout out to CFFC. They've always been fantastic with us. Make sure if you can get a link to them or catch them online, or they're on Fight Pass now. So make sure you check out those cards.
Yo, Rob Haydak, stop playing. Release those footage, man. Tell him I said that.
Yeah, watch the show, Rob, and then come on Conversations because I'd love to interview you. It's been a long time.
Stop fishing for sardines, man.
We've gotten an interview with Arias before. We've never gotten Rob.
Arias is the man.
Rob's always been a little bit. I mean, in fairness, Rob Haydak has like a million things going on at all times with Alliance.
He's busy purchasing big fish and then taking pictures of them on his Facebook.
Oh man, Sergio never fails to throw us under the bus.
Rob's the man, bro.
Guys, anything else you want to talk about before we take off today?
Nah, man. You know what? Just one thing, just about fighters being cut, like, you know, the 60 fighters coming. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Tyron Woodley could be on that list.
I wouldn't be surprised by that because I don't think Woodley has it in. I don't think he has. You know, we always talk about never telling a fighter when it's time, and Woodley's still relatively young, but his last couple fights, he didn't even look like he wanted to be in that cage.
I don't think they cut him, man. I think he's too big of a name to release. He's too young still.
He's never been one of Dana's favorites.
Yeah, but still, I think I could be wrong. I think he's in a position where Dana would rather hold on to him and have him lose one more, just to kind of like stick it to him.
Yeah, man, you guys are funny, man. You guys are calling Woodley young, but you guys called OSP old, man. They're the same age. They're both like 37 and 38.
Is Woodley that? Wow, Woodley.
I didn't think Woodley was that old, honestly.
I didn't think so too. I thought Woodley
he was only like 34.
I was gonna say that, like 33.
Woodley's 37.
Is he? Wow.
You guys call him young, but you guys called OSP old. I'm like, wait, they're the same age.
I didn't know that.
He actually, Woodley's 38.
Wow. He aged less, man.
Man, I'm gonna get in trouble by the censors, but black don't crack. Damn, he looks young as shit.
Yeah, I honestly thought Woodley was early 30s, man.
Oh man. Well, now that we've officially lost all our sponsors and everything.
Oh, hold on. I didn't realize one thing. Hold on. That's why Brandon took it. Yo, Brandon too. I thought he was younger than he really is. That's why he brought up the age thing. He was holding on to that bad boy.
Brandon needs to change his nickname from the mechanic to the babyface assassin. Because Brandon looks.
Yo, when he told me, I
don't think he looks over in his. Like,
I thought he was 25. I thought he was 25. When he told me, I said, "Get the fuck out of here, man."
Yo, man, why you guys gotta blow up my spot out here, man? Let it be.
It's good for you.
Yeah, better for you, bro.
Anyway, we have completely finished this show completely off the rails and off the tracks. So, sponsors, just go up to about 50 minutes and just cut out the last 10 minutes when you're judging whether you want to sponsor this show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Art of MMA. That's Brandon Gattino. That's Sergio Da Silva. Make sure you follow them all online. All the links will be in the show notes. That's a wrap, and we'll see you next week.